And we're back one more time with another episode of
The Horror Guys.
Yay!
Yay! This is episode 267. You know, I've been having this trouble with there's this ghost been showing up. Do you have any idea who I should call about that?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Who would you call?
Ghostbusters.
That doesn't sound right. Who would you call?
Who would you call? Who you gonna call?
Who you gonna?
Who you gonna call? I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
If only there was a catchy song that would remind us of these things.
Yeah. It's Ghostbuster week.
Yeah, it is.
And
all four of them.
Luckily, there are 4 of them, so we can talk about 4 movies.
Yeah, if we waited another couple months, we'd have to do 5. I guess we'll do that one when it comes out.
That's coming, yeah.
Yeah, the Ghostbusters took all our ghosts away. This
Yeah.
house is clean.
Ghostbusters Frozen Empire is going to be released sometime this year.
Yeah,
The
no
next
idea
in the
when.
installment.
Sometime this year.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to talk about the 4 existing Ghostbuster films. We've got the first 2 from 84 and 89.
40 years ago? What?
Yeah.
But it can't be that long. Oh, my.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
The all-female reboot from 2016. Are we allowed to say that?
we are.
Okay.
Because it was. Well,
Well, yeah.
the quartet was all female, yes.
And Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021. And, of course, we'll cover the Frozen Empire when it releases later on this year. And we're also going to take a little break. We're not going to do a short this week. We're going to do a fun indie film called Aware of the Wolf, which was just released.
Uh-huh.
Breaking out of our Ghost Month for that one.
That's all right.
It's only throwing out a short, so we're okay.
That's okay.
In addition, if you're on horrorbulletin.com on our weekly email newsletter, you could also read about The House of Last Things 2012,
Which was a ghostly story.
which I liked. I really hated it when it started out, but by the time it was done, I was completely sold.
Yeah, it just, it hooks you a little bit and then, yeah, yanks that hook right in the
It
cheek.
didn't hook me. I hated the first 20 minutes.
Oh, but no,
But then it evolved, and it
Yeah.
got so much better.
yeah, it's a ghost story.
Yeah, if you're going to watch it, stick with it.
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
better yet, read our review.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And also, we looked at The Ghosts of Mars from 2001, which was crappy in the beginning, it was crappy in the middle, and it was crappy at the end.
You know, I thought it was kind of awful when I saw it at the theater when it came out and watched it this time, and I didn't like it a whole lot better.
I watched it on TV at some point. I never did see this one at the theater.
I think it's my least favorite John Carpenter movie.
I think it's probably his least favorite, too. A lot of studio interference on that one.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get to it. But before we get to it, there's books.
There are?
Horror Guys Guides. Go to www.horrorguysshop.com and pick up some stuff to read.
Lots of stuff
We got
to
lots
read.
of nonfiction books about horror movies. We got some fiction stories. Tales to Make You Shiver, Volume 1. Tales to Make You Shiver, Volume 2. Each one containing 13 short tales of terror written by either Kevin or me. And they're creepy.
Yeah, they make you shiver.
Brrr. I'm shivering just thinking about it.
You betcha.
All right, well, something else that'll make you shiver is Ghostbusters, the original from 1984. Directed by Ivan Reitman, written by Dan Aykroyd, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis, stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis. 1 hour, 45 minutes. If you've never heard of this movie, there's a trailer in the show notes.
I saw it when it came out at the theater.
I did too.
Yeah.
Probably more than once.
No, I just once then, but I've seen it once since. So this is like my 3rd viewing of it.
Oh,
Maybe 4th.
well, you're just a newbie
Probably
then.
3rd.
You
Yeah.
haven't seen this like every week for a while.
No.
It's a fun romp with some horror elements that still holds up for entertainment almost 40 years after release. The cast works well together, the script is good, and the special effects are still passable. We do recommend it.
Yes, it's fun.
The special effects are not CGI. They're kind of practical, kind of like
Like
the
digital
painted
overlay
stuff.
kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But they're good.
Yeah,
They're
they're
all right.
okay. Yeah.
What happens?
Well, we open at the New York Public Library as a librarian runs into some weirdness in the basement, and credits roll. And then we cut to Peter Venkman doing an ESP test on university students, and we see that he cheats depending on how cute the subject is.
Uh-huh.
Dr. Raymond Stans comes in, all excited about what happened at the library. And Dr. Egan Spengler is already there, and he's taking readings and shows that something is really happening. Well, they go down to the basement, and Peter is pretty skeptical, while the other two are really true believers. And they find some snotty ectoplasm, and they see their first real ghost. And now what do we do? And that was actually a very funny moment. It's like, okay, it's there. Now what? And they look at each other like,
I don't know.
And they say, oh, get her. And they all rush her. And then she turns into monster mode. And yeah, they learn that's not what to do. Well, afterward, Egan thinks they can come up with a way to catch the ghosts. When they get back to the university, they find out they've been fired and kicked out. Peter wants to go into business for themselves. So they buy an old firehouse as a home base. Well, we cut to Dana Barrett, who is a normal woman. She's a musician who lives in a kind of creepy high-rise building next to Lewis. He's just down the hall. He's a tiny, very chatty nerd who's clearly infatuated with her, and she's not too interested in him. Well, she sees a TV ad for Ghostbusters, and it's the three guys from earlier. The groceries she just bought start acting up, and her fridge becomes a portal to hell. Who's she gonna call? Like the commercial asks. Well, Dana goes to see the Ghostbusters, and Peter's eager to help. He's more interested in Dana than the ghost, but he goes to her place to check it out.
A little of both.
Yeah, that's what he says, yeah. Well, the fridge is full of food, and he's not getting any readings or anything. He's persistent, but she's not interested romantically or anything. She just business. But he doesn't find anything. Well, the guys complain that they're just about broke, and then Janine, the receptionist, gets a call from a hotel. They've got one. They show up in full regalia. The manager says that this has been going on for years on the 12th floor, but it's gotten worse in the past few weeks.
And he'd like it taken care of subtly so they don't upset the guests.
Yes, be discreet. And the guys are not subtle or quiet about it. On the way up, they talk about their nuclear backpacks that they're wearing. Egon, oh, by the way, warns them never cross the streams on their weapons.
Why not?
That would be bad.
Oh.
Yes. Ray runs into the little green blob ghost and calls the others, and then it slimes Peter. They fight the little slimer on various floors, and the hotel ballroom pays the price. They shoot it with their beams and force it into their trap device. It works.
Yay!
Yay! Well, the hotel manager thinks they're crooks and is a little irked about all the damage, and he says, well, we're not going to pay. Well, and then they say, well, we can just release him back where we found him, and that convinces the guy to pay. Well, suddenly, ghost sightings are breaking out all over the city. The Ghostbusters are very busy, and most people stop thinking they're cranks. They have to hire more help. So Winston Zeddemore, was that his husband?
Winston Zeddemore.
Zeddemore. He joins up for a steady paycheck. And that's what he says, they're interviewing him. Do you believe in all this stuff they list off? And he says, if the paycheck is steady, I'll believe in anything. Well, Ray shows him how to put the ghosts into the ghost jail machine. Peter woos Dana, and she finally agrees to a date. Uh-oh, Walter Peck from the EPA shows up at the station to talk to Peter. He doesn't believe in ghosts and thinks the Ghostbusters are con artists. He wants to see their storage facility and assess any environmental impact.
If ghosts aren't real, there shouldn't be any impact because there's nothing there.
Yeah.
He doesn't think that way.
No. But it is a big, scary machine that he doesn't know what it's doing, and it's a lot of electricity. And, well, Peter throws him out. Egon warns that the paranormal level of the whole city is growing enormously for some reason. Well, meanwhile, on the roof of Dana's building, the stone gargoyles start turning into demon dogs. When she gets home, she finds her kitchen has a problem, and it pulls her right in. Lewis, who's having a party across the hall, gets a more public visit from his devil dog. Well, Peter shows up with his date for Dana, and she's clearly different. She wants to know if he's the keymaster, and she says that she's Zool the gatekeeper. and she wants to prepare for the coming of Gozer. So now something's going on. He knows she's possessed, especially when she starts getting all exorcisty and floats above the bed. So,
That's not something they're supposed to do every day.
yeah, this is pretty definitively evidence, yeah. Well, across town, Lewis has been possessed by the Keymaster, and he's looking for the gatekeeper. Meanwhile, at Ghostbusters HQ, the police bring Lewis to Egon, and he's very strange. Ray and Winston talk about the end times and the end of the world. And there was a really cool shot with Lewis. Egon has him hooked up to scanners. That's one of my favorite effect shots. You see Lewis, the actor, sitting there, and you see the image of the demon dog on one of the screens.
He's possessed.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, the EPA guy shows up again, and this time he's got a court order to shut down the Ghostbusters containment facility. Egan warns him not to shut the machines down, but they do it anyway. And all the ghosts they've ever captured explosively escape into the city all at once.
Uh-oh.
In jail, Ray explains the blueprints to Dana's building, says the whole place was built to be a huge ghost magnet. As the mayor calls on the Ghostbusters for help, the Keymaster finally comes to the gatekeeper and they get together. By the time the Ghostbusters arrive at Dana's building, the place is getting downright scary. But that's okay because the crowd is there cheering them on. The gatekeeper and the Keymaster open the doorway and release Gozer. She's not nice at all. Well, the guys shoot her with their neutron beams and she vanishes. They won. Yay! Well, no, they didn't. A voice tells them to choose the form of the destructor. And they try not to choose anything, but Ray was thinking about marshmallows. So the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man attacks. And this is like a Michelin Man kind of giant mascot made of marshmallow, and he's 100 feet tall, that stomps through the city like a big fluffy Godzilla. And the guys shoot it again, but it has no effect. So Egon says they have to cross the streams.
That would be bad, though, right?
It is bad, but it just might work. So they do cross the beams, and everything explodes. The city is covered in marshmallow blobs. Everything is fine, everyone is fine, even Dana and Lewis. Well, they all go down to the screaming, happy crowd as they drive their car away from the scene. We do see that Slimer is still out there.
Still got the ghosts.
Yep.
I, for one, did not remember just how much product placement this one had.
Boy, it sure does.
It's food everywhere.
Uh-huh.
The special effects are good for '84, but they're not the greatest. They probably wouldn't pass muster today, but they're acceptable.
Uh-huh.
The rest of it is good enough. You'll deal with it.
You'll enjoy it.
Starts off strong and never slows down at all. The humor is still good, the action is fun, and the cast works really well together. It's still a good time after all these years.
And it was such a good time that 5 years later they made a sequel.
Woohoo! It's going to be better than the original,
2.
right?
Not quite.
Most
No.
people would say no.
Yeah, it was good, but not as good. It directed by Ivan Reitman again. That was the first director, right? Same guy?
Yeah, same guy.
Yeah. And I've lost my place. Okay, written by Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis. Stars Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Sigourney Weaver, Harold Ramis, and Rick Moranis. They're all back again.
Yay!
Yay! Runtime's an hour and 48 minutes this time, and there's a trailer on YouTube. Spoiler free, this was, like we said, pretty good, but not as good. It's got the same cast plus a few extra folks. And in the 5 years since, things have settled down to normal. And there's really no ghosts anymore. But then things start to go haywire again. And who you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
Because they still know their stuff.
They do.
Tell us about it.
5 years later, Dana walks home with her baby. Oh, that's new.
Uh-huh.
But the stroller has a mind of its own, rolling through traffic down the streets of New York. Who's she gonna call? Credits roll.
You know.
Well, the Ghostbusters show up to a call, but it turns out to be just a kid's birthday party. Then the kids all boo because they wanted He-Man. Yes, the Ghostbusters have gone out of business, but now they do public appearances and dance to their famous song. They were heroes, but they've been sued into the ground since then. Dana goes to see Egon about her stroller problem. Egon still works with Ray from time to time, but they all tend to avoid Peter nowadays. He's the host of a psychic TV show where he makes fun of people who predict the end of the world. Jack Hardemeyer, the mayor's assistant, doesn't want the mayor associated with any of the Ghostbusters. Meanwhile, at the art museum, Dr. Janus Poha oversees Dana, who is restoring artwork, which is kind of odd because she was a musician in the previous film.
That is brought up, though, that this is just kind of a break, because it's less time consuming where they're having the baby. Her schedule is better.
Okay.
And there's mention of her getting back into music again too.
Yeah.
It's just
she mentions that later.
Just kind of a temporary thing.
Okay, well, while she's there, they wheel in a creepy painting with a scary-looking guy on it. Janos is a creepy little man with a foreign accent, and he's got a crush on Dana. We see the face in the painting struggling to get out. Peter goes to visit Ray and Egon, and he learns about Dana's little problem.
And his accent is just over the top, and he's kind of weird. That actor is always a little bit weird, but he's especially weird in this. And I remember at one point somebody asked him, where are you from anyway? And he's like, oh, New Jersey. But his accent is just insane.
Yeah, he's weird.
Yeah.
Actually, I thought he was so weird it kind of took away from the movie. He was weird to begin with. If he'd have been a little more normal to begin with, it might have been more effective.
No, I thought it was fine.
All right.
That was just who he was.
Well, the three guys head over to Dana's place to check out the baby. We see that Dana and Peter had a thing for a while, but he wasn't cut out for that. They don't find anything special with the baby or the apartment, but they find some slime outside in the road. They dig a hole to see what's down there, and find a whole river of slime. The guys are soon arrested for causing a power blackout.
Oops.
Back at the museum, the painting of Vigo, the scourge of Carpathia, comes to life and attacks Janos. Find me a child that I might live again. Janos' first stop is Dana's house. Only baby he knows.
Yep.
Well, Hardemeyer is pressing charges against 3 Ghostbusters, and Winston and Lewis are in court there to help them. They're found not guilty on all charges and sentenced to prison.
Yeah, and
Lewis, or they're found guilty, not guilty.
And Lewis is there trying to, do a criminal trial, and he's an accountant.
The judge is so angry at the Ghostbusters that it sets off the ectoplasm sample they had for evidence. The judge soon changes his tune and dismisses the charges after the ghosts attack. The guys suit up and go after the ghosts. They're back.
Yay!
Which is good because things are creeping around all over the city again. We get a musical ghost-busting montage. The slime under the city is psychoactive. It responds to human emotional states. It feeds on bad vibes.
So it would also feed on good vibes, too, they find.
Maybe.
They take little samples and play around with it.
Peter goes to see Dana at work and meets Janos, who is still weird.
Yes.
Peter mocks the painting of Vigo, a lunatic and genocidal maniac. She mentions that he's creeped out by the painting, and later that night, her bathtub tries to eat the baby.
Things are not normal.
Ray researches Vigo, and there was a whole story about how he ended up dying. Vigo, of course, swore to return someday. The guys go to the museum, and Peter asks Janos about his weird accent, but he says he's just from the Upper West Side.
Oh, okay, not New Jersey. I knew it was something like that.
The painting then does something to Ray. Janine and Lewis come over to babysit Oscar while Peter and Dana go out. Egon and Ray analyze the painting, and there's something supernatural about it. It's all been pretty low stakes up to this point, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it's building.
Egon, Ray, and Winston go down into the sewers to check out the slime they saw before, and they run into some bad stuff, including severed heads and a whole phantom subway train. They soon end up in the slime river, which leads right to the museum. They go and tell Peter, and the whole group is arrested again.
Yeah, and when they go to tell him, he's having dinner in this posh restaurant with Dana. And the 3 of them
slime-covered
troop in,
yes.
All slimy, and gets them all kicked out.
Well, the Ghostbusters then go to tell the mayor about what's going on. He wants nothing to do with them and tells Hardemeyer to handle it. And then he has them committed to the asylum.
Hardemeyer does,
yeah. Uh-huh. Back at the museum, Vigo and Janos come to an arrangement about Dana and Oscar. Dana goes home to find that Oscar has been abducted by a ghost nanny. She recognizes that the nanny is really Janos and runs to the museum. As soon as she goes inside, the whole place becomes covered in slime.
It's like a slime shield.
Ectoplasmic lockdown.
Yep.
Weird stuff starts happening all over town. The mayor wants to call the Ghostbusters, and he has no idea that Hardemeyer had them locked in the psychiatric ward. Somebody get me the Ghostbusters! Well, they show up, and he goes with them and fires Hardemeyer.
Mm-hmm.
The Ghostbusters show up at the museum. Inside, Janos says they're mainly waiting for midnight, and then the city will belong to Vigo. Janos wants Dana, but she's not interested. She's just not into these little troll types, is she?
No, she isn't.
The Ghostbusters shoot the slime surrounding the museum, but it won't budge. Only the good vibes of the citizens of New York will do the job. Oh, they're already dead.
Nah.
They go to the Statue of Liberty and wire her up with loudspeakers and lots of slime. Then they drive the animated activated Lady Liberty through town. Meanwhile, Janine gets Lewis dressed up as a Ghostbuster.
Yeah, and as a side story too, Janine and Lewis are now a couple.
They had to fit them in the movie somehow.
And that's how they managed to, yeah.
The Ghostbusters break through the roof of the museum and drop in just before midnight. They hose down Janos with good slime, but Vigo is gone from his painting. He appears before the group and they blast him, which bounces back against the guys. Vigo has the Ghostbusters paralyzed, and he's just about to possess Oscar, but he hears all the people outside singing, which saps his powers.
The good vibes.
Outside, Lewis arrives and zaps the ectoplasm outside. This time it works.
Yeah, it's kind of a multi-prong attack. The good vibes and the blast now against the slime, which has been weakened, and the guys inside, and it's teamwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vigo possesses Ray, but a blast of good slime solves that problem. Then they shoot the painting, which explodes. And everybody goes outside to the cheering mob.
Yay!
Yay! I wanted to know almost immediately, who's going to put that Statue of Liberty back where it belongs?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
How?
Yeah.
It's not even in the same pose.
Right, it's laying on its side.
I did not realize it until I read the trivia for this, but Max von Sydow did the voice for Vigo. The original actor, who is not Angus Scrimm, but kind of looks like him.
Right.
The German actor's accent was too strong, so they had to overdub him.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good continuation, but it all seems kind of low stakes and a little slower pace until the end. He doesn't destroy the city. He doesn't rampage everywhere. He just gets out of that bad things would have happened, but we don't see any of that. So it's just the Ghostbusters against an evil painting.
Ghostbusters light.
Yeah.
But it was good.
It was all right.
It was worthy. Yeah.
All right, now we will take a little Ghostbuster break and talk about Aware of the Wolf from 2023. Written and directed by Josh Nelson, stars Tony Murphy, Suzanne Johnson, and Katie Rowlerson.
And a whole bunch of other people.
And other people, yes.
Yeah.
Spoiler free. Life coaching from a motivational speaker can help the meek and afraid find the animal inside them. Maybe sometimes it works really, really well and takes things a little too far. This was a fine piece of indie work that we both enjoyed.
Yeah, I thought it was nice, kind of a a double story going on, but there really are, motivational, seminars like this. Motivational speakers, stop being a wuss, get off your hiney and, be an animal. And well, yeah, this works out. Yeah, they take it a little too far.
I'm sure nobody has seen this one yet. It's brand new, so don't spoil it to death. But what happens?
Well, we open with a girl running through the woods. But it's not a monster chasing her, it's her boyfriend, who isn't primitive or manly enough for her. She says she wants to be dragged through the woods and gone through like a knife through butter. She wants to be scared. Well, then she hears a wolf, and she smiles. That's more like it. Except her boyfriend says, no, that wasn't me. Well, when the werewolf shows up and kills them both, then she looks really scared.
It worked.
Yeah. Credits roll as real wolves stalk the snowy woods and fight over meat. Well, two girls talk about one of them sleeping with the other's boyfriend. This sounds like a good idea to exactly one of them. This friendship looks very one-sided, and this one girl is really greedy. And the other one's just kind of a...
One's a pushover and one's
she's
agreed.
being a pushover. Yeah. She sounds like she needs a seminar. Well, Detective Wagner walks through the woods, investigating the dead bodies of the couple before the credits. She finds part of a face, along with a business card.
And that good little gore scene there with the face was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was cool. Well, more people having, pushover incidents. A woman tries to throw out her pregnant stepdaughter, even though the daughter pays all the bills. And we soon cut to the same pregnant girl in a classroom, where Terry begins talking about Terry's transformations. How many of you don't feel like you're good enough? Everyone raises their hands. And they talk about Darwin and survival of the fittest, and he's working to get them all fired up.
So it's a group of maybe, I don't know, a dozen people or so, and we recognize a couple of them in the audience already.
Uh-huh.
They're going to learn how to be more assertive or something.
And we should probably stop there. Well, we can mention that we learn more of the background of more of these people who are in terrible circumstances and aren't standing up for themselves enough, need to, and they learn how to stand up for themselves.
To release their inner animals.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, you know where it's going just from what we've hinted at, and you know exactly where this is going, but it's fun getting there.
But then there's another little addition that makes it a little more complicated than that, too, with Terry and the detective doing the detective work. And
Okay, well, that little half face, the piece of the face they found in the woods is really effective, I thought. The werewolf masks that... Spoiler.
What? There's werewolves in this.
The werewolf masks that the actors are wearing aren't as great, but they work well enough. The lighting and sound are well done, and everything looks good here. The acting and dialogue are actually really funny. The self-confident speeches and motivational stuff, it goes on maybe a little too long. A whole lot of, them talking and sharing, and it's very self-helpy. Mm-hmm. But overall, it was a fun movie. You know from the beginning right where it's headed, but it's a good time getting there. I'd rate it higher if they'd cut out just a little bit of that talky bits in the group sessions, but overall, I liked it.
Yep, so did I.
Yep. Okay, so I don't know where you find this one. Probably Tubi or Prime.
JustWatch.com.
JustWatch.com will tell you exactly where to watch this, yes.
JustWatch.com, and it'll tell you.
Yeah. Which is a very helpful site.
It is.
I use Just Watch like 3 or 4 times a week. Like, where do we watch this movie? Where do we watch that movie?
Because there's so many channels out there now and so many carriers. And Just Watch is really good about uniting them all.
Yeah, and once in a while it'll tell you there's no place to stream this movie.
Sadly, yeah.
All right, which takes us to 2016's Ghostbusters. There's no number here. It's not Ghostbusters 3.
Because it's a reboot.
Oh, my.
They started fresh.
Directed by Paul Feig, written by Katie Dippold, Paul Feig, and Ivan Reitman. Stars Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Kate McKinnon, and Leslie Jones. 2 hours and 13 minutes. Now, I will tell you right now that we didn't see this in the theater. The theater version was shorter. We watched the extended edition. I didn't notice anything really dragging, so I couldn't tell you what was extra.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seemed long.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it could have used some trimming, but it wasn't like there was a whole lot of extra scenes or anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting maybe to see compared, but I don't want to see it again.
Didn't care for this one, huh?
There's a trailer in the show notes.
Well, I mean, for years people have said that this was a reboot that didn't need to be done. It's all woke and feminist and and all that, and it was just a crap show of bad terribleness. And we were figuring, that's just misogyny talking or people liking the original too much. And
we went into it with an open mind.
We tried to go into. We went into this with an open mind. I'm like, it's been years now. Let's finally watch this thing. It can't be as bad as people said.
Well,
it's pretty bad.
Well,
it's pretty bad.
Didn't love it. I didn't hate it as much as you did, but
not because it's all women, not because it's a reboot. It's just bad.
It could have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Spoiler free, this is a complete reboot of the original, and there's 4 female Ghostbusters this time and a male secretary, and it's a different story of peril to the city of New York. And like we said, we did go in with an open mind, giving a fair chance to entertain us. And there are some bright spots. The special effects are certainly terrific. And, they're working hard at it. There's some chuckles. And, I laughed sometimes. But overall, It's just not as good as the original.
No.
It's, the total score is not a match.
One of those remakes that did not need to happen.
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah, we have both seen the original Ghostbusters numerous times. I'm sure I know I've seen 2 a couple of times, more than one. Probably not as much as the original, but neither of us had seen this one.
No.
And it's already like 8 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're coming into this one a little late.
Yeah, but finally caught up.
Well, we open on a tour, much to our regret.
Well,
We open on a tour guide talking about an old historic house. He makes it sound like Old Man Aldridge might not have been such a nice guy. His daughter Gertrude may have been even worse. They locked her in the basement for years. No one has opened this door since then, he says. Later, after closing time, he sees the doorknob turning and someone screams. As the ghosts get him, credits roll. All look pretty good so far.
Yeah.
Nice special effects.
Yeah, good start.
Erin talks to her boyfriend. She's a particle physicist. No one comes to her lecture except Ed Mulgrave. He's the historian for the Aldridge Mansion, and he's wrote her book. The dean, Harold Fillmore, is snooty, doesn't care for Erin. He walks... I'm assuming that was a bust of Egon Spengler on the way out.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Why would it be, though, considering that never happened?
It's a tribute thing.
It
It's a way
really is him?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's a way to put him in the movie.
I wonder if it was just a bust of the actor and not that character, because the Ghostbusters have not happened.
Well, either way, I mean, those characters are not in this movie, but the actors are. The actors all make appearances.
No, not in this movie.
Bill Murray?
No.
He wasn't?
No.
It wasn't the guy who comes to see him?
As a different character.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh, okay, yeah, all right.
Yeah. The previous characters are not the actors.
Right, okay.
All 4 actors make an appearance.
Yeah, they would not have a
Plus
bust of the
Dana.
Ghostbusters
Plus
in the
Sigourney
hallway,
Weaver
though.
makes a, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah.
Erin then goes to see Abby, who has published Erin's book without permission. They wrote the book together many years ago, but now it's going to look bad on Erin's tenure application. Jillian Holtzman is an engineer who works with Abby, and they demonstrate a fart joke. Erin tells them about the Aldridge Mansion. Well, the 3 women go to the Aldridge house, but the tour guide, Garrett, lets them in, but also adds, "You're going to die in there." Well, they soon see Gertrude's ghost, who vomits gallons of ectoplasm all over Erin. It all winds up on YouTube, which does not please Dean Fillmore, who fires her. Well, there are numerous emails from people who report seeing ghosts. There's a TV show out there called Ghost Jumpers, but they're just a bunch of fakers. Abby wants to do it for real. Soon, Abby and Jillian are fired too, so what have they got to lose? Patty Tolan, who works in the subway, follows Rowan, a weird guy, into the tunnels and sees a ghost. Somehow, Rowan made that ghost appear.
Yeah, there's some machine that he set up that overloads and explodes, and a ghost appears.
And we see that he has a whole bunch of ghosts trapped inside mirrors where he works. Well, the women go to the firehouse from the original Ghostbusters movie, but the rent is $21,000 a month. You think that's like a real New York rent?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me.
So they end up moving into a former Chinese restaurant instead. Chris Hemsworth shows up, and he wants to be the receptionist, whose name is Kevin.
Nice name.
He's got a really confusing conversational style, and turns out he's just stupid, but he looks so good, they hire him anyway. They need their eye candy.
Yes, they do.
Patty comes to see them about the ghost that she saw. They all go down into the subway, and they see the ghost too. They shoot it with a proton gun, and it just annoys him. They post that video online, and no one believes it's real. That's a problem with Photoshop. Patty wants to join the club, and she seals the deal by bringing them a hearse. Jillian fixes the proton gun, and it might actually work this time. It might be a little overpowered now, actually. As one of the characters goes flying with it.
Yep.
They watch an interview show with Dr. Heiss, a paranormal expert, who says the girls' videos on YouTube are all fake. It's Bill Murray.
And that's Bill Murray. Yeah.
Rowan goes to a rock concert, and we see that he's got one of those devices with him again. Jillian has had the hearse redecorated to look like a proper Ghostbusters car. They have coveralls, proton packs, and look just like the real
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. They go into the... Actually, I'll take a little side note here. And the real Ghostbusters. Did you ever watch any of the cartoon?
No, I didn't. I forgot that exists.
Yeah, for sometime between, I don't know, the first and second movie, or maybe just after the second movie, there was a cartoon out called The Real Ghostbusters.
I remember it existing now.
And I always remembered why they were called that, because it was not the real Ghost. It was a cartoon. The live action one should have been The Real Ghostbusters. It made no sense to me.
Uh-huh.
But then in the years, I've reread about the original Ghostbusters from the 70s.
Oh?
Larry Storch, Forrest Whitaker, and a big gorilla, a man in a monkey suit. Did you ever
Okay.
watch? And I'm like, oh my
No.
God, I had completely forgotten. I used to watch that every Saturday.
I never heard of that one.
Got the Ghostbusters. Yes.
Oh. So
Look
they
it
had
up.
so they had to have a different name.
Yeah, they were
The
the
real
original Ghostbusters.
Oh.
And then the movie Ghostbusters, I guess they didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
But for the cartoon, they couldn't call them Ghostbusters because it had already been taken.
Oh, okay.
That's why the cartoon was The Real,
Real
Ghostbusters.
Interesting.
Yeah, look up Ghostbusters 70 something on
Cartoon.
YouTube. It's
Okay.
there. It's not a cartoon. It's
Oh,
live
it's not
action.
a cartoon. Oh, okay.
It was very funny, but every episode was kind of the same.
Yeah.
Now I want to see that. Anyway, they go into the concert hall and find a ghost-attracting device this time. They're soon chased by a possessed mannequin. They shoot that mannequin, which explodes into a big winged flying ghost, which goes out on the stage in front of the crowd. It's a big heavy metal concert. And everybody thinks it's part of the show. What cool special effects. They work together, and they actually manage to capture the ghost. Well, Dr. Heiss comes to visit the Ghostbusters. Why are you pretending to catch ghosts? And they release the ghost they just caught to prove it to the old man, and it throws him out through the window. He just wasn't Ghostbusters material, someone says. That was Bill Murray.
Yeah.
The mayor calls in the Ghostbusters for a little talk. They tell him that someone is causing all the ghost activity on purpose, and he tells them to stop doing their thing as the government can handle it.
Right.
The government is going to publicly say that the Ghostbusters are fake. Unwilling to stop, Jillian comes up with a whole bunch of new weapons and toys, all of which make a mess. They figure out that the bad guy is using the devices and ghosts to charge up some ley lines, which will break down the walls between realities. The center of all this activity is the Mercado Hotel, which is where Rowan works, and Patty recognizes it from the website.
And once the wall is broken down, all those ghosts that are beaten on the other side of the mirrors can
Will be
bust
out.
loose and
Yeah.
get out and terrorize the city.
Well, they track down Rowan at the hotel and find his workshop, which is really something.
Mm-hmm.
He
He's got
does-
quite a machine built
yeah, he
there.
does.
Yeah.
He does a whole monologue, and then Abby gives him a speech about how great the world is. He then fries himself in the equipment, shorting it all out, and the ghosts stay put.
Yeah.
Oh,
Safe.
they beat
City
him.
is saved. That was easy.
The Ghostbusters call on the government to clean it all up, and they blame the Ghostbusters for this publicity stunt. Rowan's ghost then possesses Abby, who starts smashing the Ghostbusters' equipment.
What? He's not gone.
Patty's, he's like a force ghost.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing with the ghosts, is it's selective. Not everybody becomes a ghost. But they should, they might have expected, hey, ghosts are real.
Well, he
And
knew a
this
lot
guy
about
is-
ghosts. He may have known
And
what
this guy is really bad.
process.
And yeah, I mean, they might have thought of that. This is a really bad, determined guy, and ghosts are real, and maybe he's going to be a ghost.
Well, they didn't kill him. He did it himself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well, Patty just slaps the ghost right out of Abby.
which is a very funny scene.
The ghost then possesses
The power of Patty compels you. Whack.
the ghost then possesses Kevin, who rides away. Aaron goes to tell the mayor to evacuate the city, but he won't do it. Possessed Kevin goes back to Rowan's place and continues the dead man's work. He then releases all the ghosts, including Slimer, who steals the Ghostbusters' car. In the meantime, the Ghostbusters are menaced by haunted parade balloons, including a giant marshmallow man.
Tribute.
Kevin and Rowan shows up at the Mercado, and they make all the police, agents, and crowd do a dance. There's an all-out ghost battle with lots of action, but they finally go inside to face off with Kevin. Rowan depossesses Kevin, but they can't shoot the ghostly Rowan. He wants to know what form he can take. Choose the form.
Mm-hmm.
And appears as the cartoon ghost from their logo, only huge and scary. Skyscraper-sized, huge and scary. Abby and Jillian say the only way to stop the giant monster is to cross the streams on the proton guns when they shoot the portal. It doesn't work, so they decide to turn the Ghostbuster car into a giant ghost trap. It works, but the huge ghost grabs Abby as he gets sucked into the portal.
Uh-oh, she's gone forever, right?
Erin hooks a cable onto herself and jumps in after Abby.
Yay, rescue!
They both come back out, but now they have white hair. Okay, consequences, I guess.
Yeah.
Kevin insists he helped avert the crisis. The mayor once again denies everything. The city offers to give them the firehouse they couldn't afford before, along with some funding. Patty's Uncle Bill comes by.
And he looks familiar, doesn't he?
He looks familiar, yes.
Yeah.
He's looking for the hearse, which they lost in the portal.
They can afford another one.
They could.
Yeah.
Well, we watched the extended cut, which includes 15 minutes of extra stuff not shown in the theaters. It was all made sense, so I don't know what kind of fluff there was, but it was long.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tore this apart when it came out, and we didn't see it then. In the meantime, we've seen lots of opinions saying it was unfairly maligned and underrated. Well, no, it's just not that funny. There are a few laughs, but many, many more just fall flat. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think Melissa McCarthy is funny at all.
Well, it's not just you, and I mean, like I said, there were money chuckles. I laughed.
There were some, yes.
Yeah,
there were. It's not entirely terrible.
Often, I find that Melinda McCarthy is the opposite of funny. She says something, and
She's
the room becomes less
cringy,
funny.
yes.
Cringy, yeah. All too often. Yeah, not every time, but yeah, enough.
She sucks the humor out of the room like
sometimes. Yeah, I just
ghost gun.
Yeah, yeah.
The special effects are very well done, far better than the originals. It's a lot more action-oriented than the originals, which was mostly jokey-type comedy. The action and special effects were very good. The jokes and the humor were pretty weak. I would say this is the worst thing we watched this week.
Oh, the worst of the four, yeah. My least favorite of the four, for sure.
Well, of the five,
six.
even, really.
All
of them,
the extra movies, too, yeah. Definitely my least favorite of the... Oh, seven. No, we got the werewolf.
We got seven movies this week,
yeah,
including the two bonuses.
Yeah, this would... I'm not going to say I hated it. I'm not going to give it a below 5 rating.
I have no plans to watch it again, but it was not terrible.
I'd give it a 6, because there was enough to enjoy in it.
I would say as an action with ghosts and stuff, it's fine. As a comedy, it's kind of bad.
Iffy, yeah.
Yeah, it's just not... For a comedy, it's not that funny.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters Afterlife from 2021. Another one neither of us had seen. We had gotten way behind in our Ghostbusters movie.
Yes.
That's why we're doing Ghost Week.
Catch up on them before the new one comes out.
Also directed by Jason Reitman. Must be Ivan's son. Written by Gil Keenan, Jason Reitman, and Ivan Reitman. Stars Carrie Coon, Paul Rudd, Finn Wolfhard, and McKenna Grace. Entirely new cast of characters. We'll never see them old guys again.
Well, actually, we do.
2 hours and 4 minutes. Trailer in the show notes.
But it's not about them this time. Or is it?
Blissfully continues years after Ghostbusters 2, as if the 2016 reboot never happened. It is 40 years later, but that other stuff, no. There was only the one set of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Young folks take up the helm to save the world this time, with some help from the original guys. With the young people, it seemed like this one was geared a little more... Yeah, the main characters are quite young. Mm-hmm. It seemed like this might have been geared toward a younger audience.
I think so, a little bit, yeah.
Precocious children.
Yeah.
But we still thought it was entertaining, and it was a worthy sequel.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Yeah, this is kind of confusing. I wouldn't say it's a kid's movie. It's got some very adult-type themes to it.
But it leans more that way than the others,
But the star is like 12 years old. And
yeah, they're young folks. So... Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what happens?
Well, at the Shandor Mining Company, a man drives like a maniac through town as a device in the truck beeps menacingly. He goes off the road and crashes. He then runs through the cornfield to a house and throws a switch. He's got a ghost trap and some other Ghostbuster equipment and electric things, but it fizzles out and doesn't work. The ghosts end up killing the farmer. and we never get a good look at him. But we do recognize that little handheld sensor thing. We've seen that before.
Oh, yeah. The whole, yeah.
And then credits roll.
Well, we got a pretty good idea who he is already, just from knowing the reality of the situation.
There's enough hints there. Yeah.
What's his name? Harold Ramis had died like 10 years earlier. So we knew he wasn't going to be in this.
But they found a way to make the character
Egon
still in it.
Oh, look, that's how they wrap up his character. They kill him off in the beginning.
Oh, it's more complicated.
But we don't know for sure that that's him. They never name him, so it might be something else.
Yeah, but we find out.
Let's go. What happens?
Callie tells the landlord that she's just inherited some money from her recently deceased father. Well, he tells her that she's evicted. So she and her kids, Trevor and Phoebe, drive out to the farmhouse. And the house is quite a run-down monstrosity. It's pretty bad. Janine comes by. She's the secretary from the original Ghostbusters. She was Callie's father's friend. She says the place is worthless, and her dead father was broke. And it's clear by this point that the dead father was Egon, one of the original Ghostbusters.
We know this, but they don't say it in the movie.
They don't say the E word initially, yeah. But, by that time, you figured it out. Well, that night, Phoebe's chess set moves a single piece all by itself. Callie takes the kids to school, and they meet Gruberson, the teacher, who is also a seismologist. It's summer school, so all he does is put movies in the videotape player. He's playing Cujo this day. Phoebe meets a kid named Podcast, who, believe it or not, has a podcast.
Nobody does that.
Yeah. Gruberson talks to Phoebe about seismology. The place gets regular earthquakes, but there's no geological reason. Kind of a mystery. Well, Podcast takes Phoebe to a strange mountain where the mines are.
This town is built right next to a huge mine in a mountain, and he wonders where the seismology is coming from.
Well, but there's no fault lines or anything, or no natural. You can have a mine without seismology, earthquakes.
Could be collapsing inside. Could be something going. Oh, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Well, you can tell a difference between a fault line and something collapsing, and he knows his stuff, and he says there's no explanation for it. Well, one by one, the miners started killing themselves way back, so they had to shut the mine down. Trevor gets a job at a diner, and he's kind of awful at it. He tries to fix up the old Ghostbusters car, which is rusting in the barn. More evidence that this is Egon. Yeah. Well, that evening, Phoebe plays chess with an invisible opponent. We also see the ghost detector lighting up when that happens. She finds the device and follows the reading to a puzzle built into the floor, and inside is one of the ghost traps. So she takes the trap to school, and Gruberson recognizes what it is, but he thinks it's a replica. There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years.
Okay, so let's just skip out the storytelling here for a second. If that was Egon who lived in that house, and he was a former Ghostbuster, he would have had probably several of those ghost traps. Why would he have one hidden in the floor? Why would he hide it?
Good question.
It's not like secret technology or anything.
Yeah, because Gruberson recognized it.
The car is out in the barn, and as we find out later, the field is full of them. Why would that be hidden?
Well, he didn't want anybody messing with it if they came across it, so that's probably why. Because it's got a ghost in it.
Oh, did it?
Oh,
I don't remember that part. Okay.
Oh, yeah, we're about to mention that. Yeah, because they monkey around with it. He takes it out to the parking lot with Phoebe, and they open it.
I should read these reviews sometime.
And the ghost
who writes this stuff?
The ghost that was in it all this time. Yeah.
We watched this like 4 days ago.
Yeah, they decide to open it after school. Okay. That goes badly, and the ghost heads straight for the old mines. Well, Podcast and Phoebe read about the gatekeeper, the keymaster, and Gozer the Gozerian in one of the books in the house. And they start to wonder, what did we let out? Trevor and his friends all go up to the mine. They see smoke and fire down in the well, and they watch something pop out. Back at the farm, Phoebe finds her grandfather's secret lab and Ghostbuster uniforms, all marked Spengler.
Aha, confirmation.
Yes. His ghost shows her around invisibly, and she watches the old Ghostbuster TV ads and gets a proton gun working again with the ghost's help. She and Podcast check out a factory that had something inside making creepy noises. and they find a ghost inside, but it gets away before they can trap it. And since it was eating metal pipes, they call it Muncher. It looks a lot like Slimer, only it's gray and it eats metal. Gruberson and Callie go out on a date, and she says that science puts her right to sleep, and she doesn't like to talk about her ex or her father. Trevor gets the Ghostbuster car working and takes Phoebe and Podcast to town. They hear a radio report that indicates Muncher is in town. They chase it through the town, blowing up everything as they pass. It's heading for the mountain. And finally, they do manage to catch it right in front of the mountain where Trevor saw weirdness the other night. And they are soon arrested for their in-town hijinks. With her one phone call, she calls the number on the old Ghostbusters ad, which goes to Ray's occult bookstore. He explains what happened to the original Ghostbuster crew. Egon had been going on and on about the end of the world, and it was too much for Ray. Callie and Gruberson go to the police station to pick up her kids, and that goes about as well as can be expected. Gruberson goes to Walmart, where he finds a baby marshmallow man, like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, only miniature, bites his finger. And the store is soon crawling with the little guys. They're everywhere. Have a fun time wrecking the place. And he also finds a devil dog there who chases him outside.
Don't go to Walmart.
Yeah, dangerous. Well, the kids figured out that the guy who founded the mine and the town is the same guy who built the Ghost Magnet building in New York from the first film. He's a Gozer worshiper. They all ride the elevator down into the long-abandoned mine where they find Gozer's huge old temple and a tomb. Ivo Shandor is the old guy who founded the town. Something tries climbing up out of the pit, but a bunch of proton guns keep the thing down there. And this is where the earthquakes keep coming from. Egon, which was cool, Egon set up this automatic system. Anytime the stuff started bubbling up for the pit, the proton's guns would fire and cross the streams and blast it down into the hole again, which caused an earthquake. An automatic system. Well, back at the farmhouse, Callie finds the ghost detector, which leads her to her father's secret lab. And the ghost shows her that he had many photos of her and didn't really abandon her by choice, which is what she always thought. And he followed her life and growing up and everything. Well, then a devil dog jumps out and gets her. So apparently the keymaster and the keeper of the lock are
still out there.
Yeah, still out there, and they have possessed two people now. Callie is now Zool, the gatekeeper, and she takes off running toward the mountain. Gruberman, the keymaster, goes to the mines and disables the protein beams, releasing what's down there. Phoebe figures out the whole farm isn't just for growing things. It's a giant trap. Egon was looking to trap Gozer.
Everybody in town just thinks Egon, they call him the dirt farmer because he was always out there just messing in the fields and nothing ever grew.
Mm-hmm. Well, Callie and Gruberman get together at the mountain and release their inner hellhounds. Gozer climbs up out of the pit and makes short work of Ivo Shandor, which is actually kind of a darkly funny moment because he's just absolutely sure that Gozer is going to, shower him with, thanks and, rewards, and he's going to be all powerful. And she's like, no. Yeah, he's dead. It's like swatting a fly. Phoebe walks up and tells Gozer bad jokes. Gozer is not amused. It's a distraction until Podcast can trap the gatekeeper. And that kind of paralyzes Gozer, limits what she can do if she doesn't have her two hounds with her. Well, Callie turns back into herself and tries to tell Phoebe about the secret lab, but Phoebe already knows about that. They all drive back to the farm, pursued by Gozer, and they use the gatekeeper in a trap as bait. And they're all set up and, this giant trap system and everything, and again it fizzles out and shorts and doesn't work.
This is the same one that Egon used in the pre-credit sequence that didn't work then either.
Yeah. Well, it's all looking very grim until Ray, Peter, and Winston show up. Yay! Gozer remembers them. They shoot Gozer and cross the beams again. And with the help of Egon's ghost, the three original Ghostbusters, along with Phoebe and Trevor, they activate the field trap, and they actually shoot, like the silos are hooked up as giant power capacitors. They use the beams to power it, and it works this time. They activate the field trap, it pulls Gozer in, along with all the other ghosts from town. But not Egan, we noticed. Immediately, we said, well, what about Egan? He's a ghost too. Shh. It's because he's a good ghost, and he's more cohesive and has a purpose, I guess. Well, Ray said that he listens to podcast.
And podcast says, oh, you're the one.
Oh, you're my follower. Winston wants to fix up the old car. Everyone says goodbye to Egan's ghost, especially Callie, who has made peace with him since he was right all along. And then he does just kind of fade away after everybody says goodbye. After the credits, we cut to Peter and Dana doing psychic tests. And she enjoys shocking him this time around. And he gets them all right, but he admits that he was using marked cards.
Still cheats.
Yeah. We then cut to Winston, who is a very successful businessman. He pays for Ray's bookshop, and he walks into the old fire station as the hearse drives in. And we see that the old containment equipment may not be entirely empty.
I bet it's Slimer.
Could be.
Well, Harold Ramis died in 2014, but instead of just simply recasting him, they made the entire movie revolve around the mystery of his death. With a stand-in actor and digital trickery, they did give us the illusion that Harold Ramis was there in spirit at the end. This was 100 times better than the 2016 reboot, but it's absolutely a kid's movie. Genius-level precocious children are usually unbelievable in film, and this one's really not any different.
But it's fun.
That said, McKenna Grace as Phoebe is quite good here. Finn Wolfhard and the other young folks were okay. You changed my words on that one. I said he should stick to TV where nobody cares if he can act or not.
Because that was unnecessarily cruel. He was fine in this.
He wasn't.
He was.
Needs a haircut.
Well, yeah, but that's not an acting choice. That's a director's look choice.
And the adults were all fine as well. Although I will say that Bill Murray didn't have much to do here.
No.
We got two scenes with Winston and Ray.
Well, he shows up as the trio at the end, too.
Yeah. But
yeah. Well, none of them were...
I think he didn't really want to be involved.
Well, and it wasn't about them, too.
No.
It was about the new crew. They were just, there as tribute and backup, and yeah, I think it was fine.
Well, I know from the trailer he's in the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it was good. I would say the first one is best.
Yes.
The fourth one is second best.
Uh-huh.
The second one is third. And then the other one.
Reboot is last.
Way down there, yes.
Uh-huh. I would say that. Yeah.
Afterlife was actually very good, though. It was second best of the bunch.
Yeah.
House of Last Things from 2013, which we're not going to read to you, but it's a unique kind of ghost story. There are some strange things happening at different time points in this house. Understanding what's going on takes a little while to figure out, but it was very interesting. We both liked it quite a bit.
There's a little mystery there, and there's ghosts, but it's like, who is the ghosts, and when, and where?
Why?
And why? And yeah, there's a lot of questions, but it does wrap up pretty well, not completely, because it still makes you wonder.
We get all the answers. It doesn't really wrap up.
Yeah. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we also watched The Ghosts of Mars from 2001, which was heavy on science fiction and action. It wasn't that heavy on science fiction, though. It's a bunch of people running around on Mars without helmets or spacesuits or anything. It's a Western.
But Mars.
It's a Western set on Mars.
It could have been on Earth in the West. Yeah.
There is the horror element of ghostly possession. It's overly heavy on flashbacks and hordes of whatever they are running around. It's okay. It's not great. Definitely not Carpenter's best work.
No.
Actually, I would just recommend skipping that one. It's not very good.
If you want to skip it, it would be okay with us.
We allow it, yes. All right, tune in next week when we will have more ghost stories, because February is Ghost Month here at the Horror Guys.
Mostly ghostly.
We'll have a couple of paranormal activities. We'll watch 1981's Ghost Story.
Ooh.
And 1980's The Fog.
Ooh.
And a couple others that we'll see.
Those are ones that I saw when they came out.
I didn't see The Fog until many years after it came out.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Ghost Story, I remember when it came out.
Fog creeped me out when I saw it the first time.
Paranormal Activity, this is my first time for all of those, other than the first one.
Oh, okay. Yeah, me too. Yeah, I saw the first one.
Yeah. So next week we'll get mostly ghostly once again.
Right on.
Until then, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
We'll see you next week.
See ya.